Why Rome's currency failed before the empire fell. That's not a metaphor, that's not exaggeration, it's a historical fact most people never hear, because Rome didn't collapse the way movies show it. No single invasion, no dramatic final battle, no empire-ending moment. Instead, Rome lost something far more important first. It lost trust in its money, and by the time barbarians crossed the borders, the economy inside Rome had already stopped working. So today we're asking a dangerous question. Did Rome fall because it lost wars, or because its currency failed first? And more importantly, what does that tell us about how financial systems really collapse? Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed prices rising, but your paycheck staying the same? Ever felt like money buys less every year, even though the numbers look bigger? Romans felt that too, but they didn't call it inflation. They just called it life getting harder. And by the time they understood what was happening, it was already too late, because no one wakes up one morning and says, "Ah yes, today our currency quietly dies." That's not how money fails. It fades, slowly, silently, then suddenly. And Rome was the first superpower to learn that lesson the hard way. But to understand how Rome's money failed, we first need to understand why it worked so well, because Rome didn't start broke. The system that built an empire, for centuries, Rome ran one of the most successful monetary systems the world had ever seen. At the center of it was a silver coin, the denarius. Introduced around 211 BC, the denarius became the economic engine of the empire. It paid soldiers, it collected taxes, it funded roads, aqueducts, ports, and cities. And most importantly, people trusted it. A Roman merchant in Gaul accepted the same coin as a shopkeeper in Syria. A soldier on the frontier trusted that his pay would still matter back home. That trust did something extraordinary. It allowed Rome to scale. And here's the wild part. How do you control an empire with no central bank, no computers, no spreadsheets? You control the metal, gold, silver, weight, purity. Money wasn't a promise, it was physical reality, and for a long time, Rome respected that reality. But empires are expensive, and eventually reality sends the bill. The hidden pressure, that's the cost of power. Rome's greatest strength was also its greatest expense, the army. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, constant wars, border defenses stretching thousands of miles, and soldiers don't fight for free. They needed regular pay, bonuses, retirement land. Now here's where the pressure started building. Taxes alone weren't enough. Raising taxes too much caused unrest. Borrowing was limited. Conquest slowed, so Roman emperors discovered a shortcut, and this shortcut would quietly poison the currency, one coin at a time. Debasement, the slow betrayal. Instead of minting coins with full silver content, they reduced it. A little less silver, a little more base metal. Same face of the emperor, same denomination, same number stamped on it, but less value inside. This process is called debasement, and at first, it worked. The government could mint more coins, pay more soldiers, cover more expenses, no riots, no immediate collapse. After all, who weighs their money before buying bread? Exactly. But something subtle began to change. Prices started creeping upward. Merchants began asking for more coins. Older, purer coins disappeared from circulation. People didn't say, "Our currency is collapsing." They said, "Things just cost more now." And that's the most dangerous stage of monetary decline. When people feel the pain, but don't yet understand the cause. Now, Gresham's Law, Roman edition. There's a principle in economics called Gresham's Law. Bad money drives out good. Romans lived it without knowing the name. When debased coins entered circulation, people hoarded older, purer silver coins. They spent the weaker ones. Sound familiar? Over time, only the bad money remained in everyday use. Trust eroded, not overnight, but relentlessly. Let me ask you, what happens to a society when no one trusts its money? You don't plan. You don't save. You don't invest. You survive. And that's exactly what began happening in Rome. The 3rd century crisis, when the mask fell. By the 3rd century AD, the problem could no longer be hidden. Silver content in coins collapsed. Some coins contained less than 5% silver. Prices exploded. Wages lagged behind. Trade slowed. And confidence, once the foundation of Roman power, shattered. Imagine being paid today in dollars, only to realize next year they buy half as much. Now imagine that happening again, and again, and again. That was daily life in late imperial Rome. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. The government didn't fix the money. It changed the rules of the economy, from currency to control. As coins lost value, Rome drifted back toward barter. Taxes were collected in grain. Soldiers were paid in food and goods. Rent and wages were fixed by decree. Money stopped being a tool of freedom. It became a tool of control. Price controls were imposed. Occupations became hereditary. Mobility disappeared. At one point, being born a farmer meant you died a farmer by law. The economy froze. And when economies freeze, they shatter. By the time invaders crossed Roman borders, the system inside was already hollow. The fall that had already happened When Rome finally fell in the West in 476 AD, the economy had already collapsed. Trade networks were gone, cities were shrinking, money barely circulated. The empire didn't fall from a single blow. It collapsed from financial exhaustion. Barbarians didn't destroy Rome. They walked into what was already broken. Here's the twist. Rome did eventually fix its money. Constantine introduced the solidus, a stable gold coin. It restored trust, but it came too late for the Western Empire. The damage was irreversible. Institutions had decayed. Markets had vanished. Confidence was gone. Which raises an uncomfortable question. Can a society survive after trust in its money is lost? History suggests rarely. Why this still matters. This isn't ancient trivia. This is a warning written in metal. Rome teaches us something timeless. Empires don't die when armies lose. They die when money stops working, when trust erodes, when shortcuts replace discipline, when leaders choose convenience over stability. And here's the part that should make us pause. Rome thought it was too big to fail too. So next time you hear about inflation or currency adjustments or systems that need just a little more flexibility, remember Rome. Because the fall didn't start with invasion. It started with a coin that looked the same but wasn't. And in the next episode, we'll explore a chilling question. If Rome was the first empire to learn this lesson, who might be next? Subscribe to the channel for similar content.